So if we take a look at our first plant that we pulled from the field, now we did cherry pick all of these. So as a good extension personnel would, we selected kind of the best plant of the area, but we did that for all of our treatments. So these are kind of on the average to above average section of what these plants actively look like in the field. So we do see, if we kind of take a first look, one question we get all the time when we talk about row spacings and when we talk about plant population is branching potential. And I hope to highlight in this video that all of our soybean, this is the same variety across all of these, is that how much impact our plant population and our row spacings have on branching potential as compared to solely just variety playing a big deal on that. So a lot of difference there. So we do have one, maybe one what you would consider a primary branching that actively has yield growing on it. This is from our 7.5-inch spacing at 120,000 seeds per acre. So this is our old traditional recommendation, and it's at our narrowest row spacing. So we do have some yield being put out on these branches. However, it is fairly minimal. We have just a couple of pods here. A bulk majority of it is sitting on our main stem here, which is kind of what we focus on a lot of our management and our recommendations anyway. So what we're doing is we're finding that terminal bud cluster. So we have it here. We're going to try to measure this up from right at that soil line that we had, that we pulled this plant out at. And we see that this plant is right at about 2 feet 6 inches, so about 2.5 feet tall plant. We see a very tall plant, but what you will see is that most of our plants are kind of right around that, if not just a little bit smaller than this plant. We are putting on a decent amount of pods per node, if you will. However, we do see that we are getting a high amount of 3-bean and 4-bean pod potentials on here and less pods, and you will see us increase our pod number as we go, but we have a lot of plants out there at 120,000. And then remember, when we get into that 7.5-inch row spacing, we're looking at plants kind of being smattered across the whole acreage. So we have plants just sporadically being placed, and so we have a good amount of room for this plant to kind of spread out both within row and between rows because of how we kind of place those soybean plants. The one downfall we do have, because we didn't plant it with an air seeder, we planted it with a drill, is that a lot of the spacing is uneven. We didn't get the most even spacing, and that's kind of what you would expect with the drill planting that you're going to get a lot better of with our air seeder. So 120, we are putting on a decent amount of kind of heading towards the end of the season finished pods. We are filling out these pods. A lot of these pods are kind of about halfway full. Within the next week or two, we should see a bulk majority of these pods fill with the cooler conditions and the typical wetter conditions we see here in September. And then we can see that, especially on the top half, we are getting a good amount of our 3 and 4 bean pods. So the yield potential here is fairly strong.